Hey, friends, welcome back to the Call to Lead podcast. So, I am going to interrupt my regularly scheduled program that I've been working through with you guys, talking about the 4 strategies that you can use when it comes to building your business with social media or without social media. And those 4 I's, just to remind you, are the ignore method, which again is what I've been doing for the last year, the influencer method, which is what I'd planned to talk about this week a little bit more in depth, the investment strategy, or the integrate strategy, which is what I'm going to be doing moving forward. And so each of the different episodes that are going to be in the coming weeks are going to be talking specifically a little bit more in depth about each one of these strategies. And then I'm going to be interviewing some people that really exemplify how to do this beautifully in their business or people who are experts in this field. So I've got some really awesome interviews coming up and definitely more in depth conversations about each of these. But today, I am going to be interrupting this to talk about something that was big time on my heart this morning through listening to a podcast on the She Works His Way network. And then also having a really great conversation with a good friend and podcast confidant and mentor of mine who is also a recent customer of mine. And so I'm going to be diving into kind of a tough topic, a little unpopular opinion to piggyback off of what I learned on the She Works His Way podcast. And so we're going to dive into a very important, but hopefully short and sweet, very intentional conversation that's going to help you get your mind right in this business, especially if you are a believer. So let's do this. Okay, 2 things this morning. I am packing, getting ready to go out of town tomorrow with my family to Costa Rica for spring break, which I'm so stinking excited about. But of course, that meant that I am going to be recording an episode for you guys today that will post while I'm gone next week. And while I was doing laundry and getting things together, before I sat down to actually record this podcast, I listened to a podcast from She Works His Way that talked about unpopular opinions. And if you haven't ever listened to one of those podcasts, I will link to their channel in the show notes. But Summer Phoebus and Michelle Myers, who are 2 incredible mentors for me that really are intentionally mission minded on helping women, regardless of where they work or even stay at home if they're mamas, to really do everything they are doing, walking in step with the Lord and in step with the Holy Spirit. And so I love listening to their podcast, and this morning's was definitely a really good one. But something that Michelle said that really stuck out with me and obviously speaks to what we talk about on this podcast was something that I wanted to talk about today. And then coming back, the piggybacking off of that, I caught up on a Boxer conversation with one of my podcast buddies, Sweet Ashley, and she was just really pouring some encouragement over me and some of the exciting things that have been happening in my business and the way the Lord is showing up in my business, even if it doesn't always look like the way we think it's going to. But in that encouragement, she shared her experience in working with me as a customer and as a friend. And what she told me, I was like, okay, this needs to be a podcast episode. So that's when I decided to talk about both of these things, not necessarily in like some organized fashion or some letter I's or bullet points or anything, but these are 2 things that I really want to make sure that gets put out there sooner rather than later. So let's talk about Michelle's bomb quote that she dropped in the podcast episode first. So I'm not going to quote Michelle directly because I can't remember exactly the way she said it, but basically her unpopular opinion is that you do not have to grow a following online or in person or otherwise in order to grow your influence. And I was like, whoa, okay, say that again, Michelle. And what she was talking about specifically is that so often, if you're in ministry, if you're in business, and certainly it applies to network marketing, that we tend to come using something, a platform like social media, or even our network or our friendships. Like we come into this thinking about the people who aren't yet connected with us and how can we find more of them and where can we find them and how can we grow the people, the sphere of influence, right? Like how can we grow that? And not that there's anything wrong with setting growth goals for your business, but ultimately, you don't have control over that, okay? Especially if you're a believer, the Lord and what she talks about is if you are, instead of trying to focus on the people that aren't yet following you, if you're focused on serving and loving intentionally the people who are right where you are right now, and if you focus on serving them and who, instead of who might be here later, serving who is with you right now, the Lord can and sometimes does multiply that impact and multiply the influence from that. But He's not necessarily going to do that if you're not serving the ones that are right in front of you. And so that really struck me because I feel like so often when it comes to social media, especially, and again, our network in general, is we're just so focused on how can I get bigger? How can I get better? And I think the She Works His Way community is a perfect example of that. In that I don't know what their growth numbers look like, but I know that their heart is to serve those of us who have invested and who are listening to the podcast now and who are paying the monthly fee to be a part of the community. Their intention is to pour into us and to serve us well. And again, if the Lord shows up and grows and multiplies that, then that's His choice. But they feel called to serve us where we are. And they're still going to be intentional about inviting us to take that next step. So, for example, I did coaching, individual coaching with them and group coaching. It was a combo hybrid model that they did last year. And it was such an incredible blessing on my business. So, of course, as a member of the community, they're going to invite me to take that next step and to go deeper. But it's up to us as to whether or not we make that choice. They're committing to the process of finding ways to continue to serve or take the people who are connected in their community to whatever that next step is for them and to provide those opportunities that in turn will grow their influence. But they're not focused on the influence. They're not focused on the growth. They're focused on the people, the flock, if you will, that they're already serving. So for you listening and you're in network marketing, I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that from your existing following on whatever platform that you're looking to grow, or whether or not, like, this was a great question from the Call to Lead community, is should you have a public or a private Facebook group? And so I love that I listened to that episode before I saw the question so that I could respond with the advice that you can have the freedom to choose which you want to do, not use social, do a private account, do a public account, which I will say I think a public account is how I've always chosen to do it because I have a harder time understanding like what the worst thing that could happen in terms of getting more eyes or more connection opportunities. Someone tags someone in a post that I do, or if I do share about my product or the podcast or something, having a public account allows anyone who's not following me to be able to see that. And so I would love if you have a good solid reason for remaining private. I would love for you to head on over to that Called to Lead community and let us know and join in that conversation because I think it's a really good one. But my point to her in responding to that question was you just want to make sure that even if you do keep your profile private, or if you do keep a small account, or you don't have any ambitions like me in terms of growing your network online, you want to make sure that you're serving the people who are following you really well. And that, my friends, is the way that you will continue to grow your business. And I know it can be a little bit scary because they're the people that are closest to you. And so I think that's where people let fear step in with what they talk about or what those people who are following them think about them. But if you're coming at a place of you have something that they might be interested in and you're not blowing them up, and again, you're not using that investment strategy, meaning all product, all your business, all the time, flashy graphics, this, that, and the other, buy this. Or like Bob Hyde is talking about this right now, where he's focusing more on transformational selling, where it don't sell so much on your platform. Just provide value, be a human, and then create conversations. And from that, people either will or won't be naturally interested in what you have to offer, but it's their decision, if that makes sense. And so, anyways, focus that wisdom that I just absolutely loved from Michelle this morning. I think it's a really important message that we all need to hear is instead of trying to serve who might be here later, how can you serve the people that are here with you now, even if it's a smaller group? Okay. So keep that in mind. I thought that was just amazing. Go listen to her podcast if you want to hear her talk about that more. It's a really good conversation. Okay, so I went right from that into catching up over on Boxer again. I'm just folding laundry, multitasking, ever multitasking. And my sweet friend Ashley, she, like I said, was pouring in some really good encouragement. And she said, I just want you to know that I appreciate the fact that I have felt like we have a genuine connection and friendship in this relationship. And yes, I did choose to make a purchase from you as a customer. And she's, yeah, I'm fully aware of the fact that I could probably make a killing in the network marketing business, whether it's in my company or she's an incredible dietitian. You guys go follow her podcast. It's called the Veggies and Virtue podcast. Her course, you guys, is it's called the Meal Times Made Easy method. And it has been such a blessing to me and my family because this is an area where we're on the struggle bus big time. And so Ashley and her podcast and her course has served me so well in that. And I just respect and admire her so much as a fellow podcaster. And so just naturally in developing this friendship and this relationship, so I don't even remember where or how it came up, but she asked about the makeup. I color matched her. I committed to that same process that I do for all of my customers and served her along the way without any expectation of her going any further from that. And if she had never bought my makeup, I would still love to remain friends with her, obviously. And so what she said to me is I just want to appreciate, I just appreciate the fact that so often in network marketing, I feel like, and I realize sometimes there can be the way that someone makes your perception of the situation, not the intention of the other person. Which is, I feel like sometimes people are focused more on grooming me to become a customer, a distributor, or something along those lines, as opposed to trying to intentionally grow the relationship. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's it. That's the missing piece of why this business model gets a bad rap. It's because could Ashley crush it as a Seint artist? Absolutely. And if she loves this makeup as much as I do and she's interested in bringing an additional income stream, guess what? Like she's seeing the things that I'm talking about in multiple platforms in a way that she can make that decision if and when it's right for her because I have committed to the process of serving her well and guiding her through that next process. And I was sharing another amazing example, I think I've talked about it on here, this podcast of Amy Darley. I interviewed her on the podcast as a YouTube expert. And after we hit record, and again, I wasn't grooming her for anything. I just really wanted her expertise in terms of the YouTube. And I just really liked her. She's local to me, and I absolutely just loved her. But at the end of that podcast, when she shared that she loved the makeup already, was a happy customer, and she had already like dabbled in putting it out there a little bit, I was like, oh my gosh, Amy, you would crush it with this. You should absolutely become an artist. And I wasn't saying that from a place of trying to get anything from her. I genuinely believed that this was the right next step for her. And if and when that comes up with someone that you have a relationship with, and you have that inspiration and that intention of sharing what it is that you do from them, you can know that your intention isn't, you're not grooming them to get something from them, that even if they don't do it, you're still going to love them right where you are in that relationship. And some of this is specific to the people that you literally, your coworkers, your Bible study gals, the people that you maybe serve with at church or whatnot. These are a little bit more for deeper relationships. If you have a surface level relationship with someone or you haven't seen them in a long time and you have that inspiration that they should do this, by all means, connect with them and be direct and say, hey, not in terms of I won't say the company, but there was a company that trained on doing this, like just make a list of 100 people and go down the thing and send them all the messages. I don't believe in that. That's maybe an unpopular opinion in this business, but if someone comes to mind or comes to your heart that maybe you don't have a deep relationship with, but you really do think they'd be great with this, there's nothing wrong with you being direct and bold and saying to them, hey, Susie, this might sound crazy. And to be honest, I'm a little nervous to share this with you, but I can't help but feel like you would be amazing at doing what I do. Have you even heard of XYZ, whatever your company is, or have you seen any of the stuff that I've been sharing about it? And the answer is either going to be yes or no. You're asking them the question, and you have to be okay with whether or not they say yes or no. And what's really cool is if your heart really is to serve, they may still say no, but they may appreciate you thinking of them to where it might build a relationship that has nothing to do with your business, but you acted on that inspiration and you put it out there. But what you don't want to do ever, because people can feel it, they can see right through it, is you don't want to try to groom this person like, oh, Susie, I think she'd be great with this. I'm gonna see if she wants to be besties. No, you could both want to be besties and think she's gonna be amazing at the business, but just come right out, be transparent and share your intentions with it, knowing that your heart is genuinely coming from a place that you think Susie would be good at what you do or would love your product if you're going with that. And I just encourage all of you guys, get out of your head, first of all, that if your heart truly is to serve someone else with your product or with your business, and you feel a direct inspiration and you feel led to invite them to try, and that can be like inviting them to a class, for example, that maybe you're going to educate them on what it is that you're doing. Or maybe like you recorded a quick video of it and someone comes to mind to do it, then absolutely send it to them. And again, if your intention isn't just like to have the relationship stop there, or if you're going to be the type of person that like if they don't join you, you don't want to be friends with them, or if they do join you and then even like quit or something, that you're not going to remain friends with them. And I think that's the cool thing about Summer and Michelle's story is Summer was actually on Michelle's network marketing team, but she decided it wasn't right for her. Michelle still is in her network marketing company and is still, actively serving her customers and is available for her team in that way. But guess what? Summer's still her best friend despite quitting her network marketing team. And so this is a relationship business, you guys. It at its core foundation, the thing that's going to build the trust and the respect and that's going to build the best aspects of this business are the relationships that come from it. So just make sure that you're coming from the place of trying to intentionally grow a relationship if you want to, or come right out. And this applies to your team too. If you see somebody that would be an amazing leader, go right to them. Of course, we can be friends, but you are business partners. So you can come right out and encourage them to say, hey, I think you have what it takes to take this thing to the top. And you can be honest and bold about that with them and, invite them again on that next journey. I'd like to invite you to this weekly accountability meeting that I'm doing. And you can intentionally do that with them. But if they don't, you still want to love them, serve them, care about their family, do all of those things. And again, I talked about this in the last episode that a major lesson that I had to learn in this and a lesson that I have to learn as a person with a big team, with a lot of amazing leaders and a lot of friends and things outside of even the business of network marketing. I do have a lot of relationships. And I genuinely know my heart, whether or not they choose to buy my product. Like literally I have best friends that have not tried the makeup, or like in my Bible study, I love these ladies and like most of them haven't. And that's okay. That's awesome. Some of them don't even wear makeup. They don't need this. That's okay. Even if they're on my team and I see big goals and dreams for them in their future, but maybe they're just not quite there to do the actions to get there. I'm still going to love them and I'm still going to serve them in a way that is going to maintain that relationship. It's not if they were to leave tomorrow or if I'm not going anywhere, but whatever happens, Lord willing, He's in control of all of this. You focus on the relationships and the rest will come. Okay, so I hope that this episode is helpful for you and hits your heart a little bit in the way that it hit mine. And this is something that we all have to work on when it comes to, again, getting out of our head in this way, getting into your heart. And if your heart truly is to serve the people that you're connected with right now, the people who are following you right now, the people who are watching your stories, the people who you just met last week, whatever that is, if your heart is to grow the relationship and if your heart is to serve them, then there might be a time that you can intentionally connect with them about your product, your service, your business, things like that. But just know that your intention should never be coming from this place of trying to groom them in order to get something from them and then not be friends with them from them. Actually, oh yeah, I think it was on the podcast with Michelle and them, and I think it was actually a different, was it? It might have been in the same unpopular opinion, but this goes with your faith too. Like one of them was sharing the example of how someone was trying to minister to them in a certain way, and they like made this huge deal of building this relationship to groom them to get them to come to the church, but then they just dropped them. And so that can even be the same thing as you're trying to be a light for Christ and bring people into the kingdom. And if you're coming at it from that place, like it's not going to feel genuine. And just keep that in mind and just know that people have been put in your life and people have been put on your heart for a reason, for a purpose. And when you focus on serving who's right where you are right now, instead of the influence or the network that you might grow and who might be here later, I'm telling you, you're going to be more fulfilled. You're going to be given more of that wisdom and inspiration from the Lord that's going to feel so good because every time like you get that little nugget of wisdom and then you act on that and then again you divorce the result, but you can see either the lesson or the blessing in whatever the result comes from that. You can be grateful for where you are right now for whatever reason, and you can continue walking in faith and trusting the Lord that He's going to give you everything you need. And if it is His choice to grow your influence, then yay, then let Him. That's great. That's more people that you can impact. But instead of trying to focus on that, just focus on who you can serve right now, today, right in front of you. So I hope it's okay that I diverted. I know you guys probably don't even always know what my plan is when it comes to the episodes that I have planned out, but just know that the next couple of months are going to be lots of goodness that's going to be tied more into these specific strategies, whether you are trying to grow with or without social media. but know that ultimately the relationships are the foundation of this business. It's the best part. And hopefully, this wisdom and advice can help guide you as it has with me. So, y'all have a great week. And I can't wait to chat more about this in the Called to Lead community. So, remember, you can always text the word podcast to 912-405-8912, and you'll get a link straight to that community and you can join in on the chat. Y'all have a great week. Love you so much. Thanks for listening and for watching.